In the old days, we used to just get an energy bill and have no choice but to pay it. That is rapidly changing, certainly in my country.
Huh? We used to get an energy bill and had no choice but to pay it, and that's changing?
Fucking lol. Okay, well, I'm pretty sure what he's talking about there, and is how I understand that. The consumers are now taking control over their power bills. Okay, so if you end up having a battery and solar, you can actually be in a position where you don't pay electricity bills. You can actually, you're actually earning income.
Well, it was only a week ago Chris Bowen warned us about the climate change Armageddon coming our way if we don't race to renewables. And now he's sounded the doomsday kazoo over in New York at the United Nations, taking his Armageddon tour global.
Climate denial is still with us, but it takes new forms. All too hardism, this is all too hard. Or no one else is doing enough. Why should we do this when the rest of the world isn't moving? And that's an easy message and narrative for the deniers and delayers to communicate.
I feel like that's pretty in line with a lot of the UN's messaging around the climate crisis. So I don't know why she's sort of, just pigeonholing Bowen as the only one who's sort of speaking up against any sort of climate risk, but okay.
And who let this guy out on the world stage, seriously? Well, what we can't deny, Chris Bowen, is that Australia emits just 1% of greenhouse gas emissions. 1%. Yet we are the ones...
Oh, man, okay. Anyone, debate me on this, but I'm so sick of this 1% sort of reference, because I'm pretty sure, the UK is only emits something very, very similar to 1% as well. So, I don't understand why this 1% keeps coming up, because it's not about the actual total emissions. It's about setting the right policies such that it can attract investment globally. So it's all about your markets and things like that. It's not just about reducing our emissions to reduce Australia's emissions, but it's actually setting a narrative globally that the climate is something that we should be addressing. And the Treasury has already, put into his modelling that if we delay our transition to net zero, it's gonna increase power prices over the next decade. So it's this whole 1% argument. It just breaks down so much when you start actually zooming out.
Apparently doing the heavy lifting, and for what? I mean, it's not going to change the weather, and it's certainly not going to do anything for our energy bills. Yet Chris Bowen is out there peddling an uncosted 2035 emissions reduction target of 62 to 70% with absolutely no clue how much it will cost you.
See, even that again. All right. So, all right. You don't understand. When they say these big one line, these big sentences, and they say so much. The thing is that they're just so wrong that it's just hard to actually break down exactly everything they're saying wrong, because it's just all incorrect. All right. The Treasury has already detailed that moving towards net zero, the renewables projection that it's going to reduce power prices by over the next couple of decades, and if we delay it, it's also going to increase power prices, right? So it's very, very essential to understand. And the actual projections that they're using different types of scenarios. And one of them is going to be a delayed rollout, and that shows significant risk to the energy market. So these are sort of things that we need to understand when we start talking about these narratives, is that they are costed. So it's exactly what she just said then is incorrect, because it is all costed. It's all in the Treasury modelling, and the AEMO CSRO Gen Cost report has done a bunch of modelling to support or actually to drive the renewables targets. So I don't understand how any of what she just said then can actually be can be anything credible. So she's just wrong about everything there.
Australia has just presented our nationally determined contribution to the UNFCCC of a cut in emissions by 2035 of 62 to 70%. A target we regard as ambitious but also achievable. Hard work, not automatic, won't be easy, but achievable, which is the key thing.
Well, here's the thing. We've been warned time and time again by experts and AEMO that we will not reach our emissions reduction targets as they are via this experiment of transmission lines, giant wind turbines, green hydrogen, solar farms and batteries. Not one expert says we can achieve our targets as they are. And Labor's been told it can't even get to 43% by 2030, but has had some sort of bizarre light bulb moment and thought to increase it to 62 to 70% by 2035. And look, I have lost count at the amount of renewables projects that have gone bust or have been delayed in the last...
Okay, hang on. Just touching back on what she said before about the AEMO saying we can't hit those targets. I mean, obviously we won't know if they hit the targets until it happens, right? Till we get to that time frame. But the AEMO's reports at the ISP all finds that firmed renewables is the lowest cost path, and that we need to deliver all the amount of storage that it's referencing. So we sort of need to have these ambitious targets if we want people to actually start moving towards them. Like, I don't understand what they kind of think would actually be appropriate. Like, let's just say 62 to 70% is what Chris Bowen has run with, the Labor government gone with. Like, you tell me, what do you think could actually be a more achievable target? And what would actually make you go, okay, yep, that sounds like a good idea, and let's all support and roll with it. Okay, so you tell me, what do you think is the best target instead of 62 to 70%? And then say why. Because from what I can see with any sort of reporting is from the AEMO and the CSRO and et cetera, is that, yeah, 62 to 70% is an ambitious target, but we need to be making ambitious moves for the current crisis and state that we are in. If we don't do anything, or if we don't act accordingly, then yeah, we're not going to hit our reduction in energy prices. We're not going to hit our emission reductions. We're not going to hit any sort of foreign investments because we're not making the right policy moves. So you tell me what you think should be the target and what should be the direction moving forward.
Few months alone across the country. But Bowen is out there selling it as a remarkable opportunity.
Now, this is a remarkable opportunity to transform consumers into prosumers, producers and consumers of energy all at the same time. And this is part of the story that we can tell, that there are challenges and headwinds and delays, but there are remarkable opportunities. There are remarkable opportunities to put consumers, to put individuals in charge for the first time.
How many times can you say remarkable? Well, the only thing remarkable about it is that Labor has managed to make electricity more expensive in this country, even though we were told it would be cheaper under renewables, and at the same time has made the grid less reliable. Now that is remarkable.
Okay, all right. Okay, someone argue with me on this, please, because I don't understand how you think that creating all the policies of the last 3 years for the Labor government and the rollout that they're doing now, I don't understand how you think that in that short amount of time it can have the significant impact on electricity prices as they're saying. I think when you look at the data, electricity prices have stayed the same, I believe. But when you look at the modeling over the next decade, it's going to drop. The wholesale prices are going to drop. So I don't understand why they think that there's just going to be this immediate drop in electricity prices. When you look at the past history of wholesale prices, you can see huge spikes where gas and coal power plants have failed, and then they've had to sort of adjust to the reliability in them. I don't understand how they think that is a better solution than the rollout of renewables. Someone tell me why you think that renewables is going to increase electricity prices instead of coal. I don't understand how, when you look at the reporting and look at the data and all the modeling that's been generated, how you can even argue against that.
Bowen then went on to show us why he actually has no clue about energy bills.
In the old days, we used to just get an energy bill and have no choice but to pay it. That is rapidly changing, certainly in my country.
We don't have to pay it? We used to get an energy bill and had no choice but to pay it, and that's changing. Now, look, I don't know about you, but I certainly don't get an imaginary bill every quarter that magically pays itself. But look, I digress. Here was Bowen explaining why you no longer have to pay your electricity bills. And
fucking lol. Okay, well, I'm pretty sure what he's talking about there, and there's how I understand that, is that consumers, and like if you piggyback off of what he said before, the consumers are now taking control over their power bills. Okay, so if you end up having a battery and solar, you can actually be in a position where you don't pay electricity bills. You can actually create, like, you're actually earning income. So I don't understand how that was so hard to get, but oh well, she is from Sky News.
Why it's rapidly changing.
Country with the highest rooftop solar penetration in the world, with more than a third of Australian houses having solar panels on the roof, more than have a backyard swimming pool, and many Australian houses have a backyard swimming pool.
Again, who let this guy on the world stage? Seriously. And the reality is Labor is doubling down on climate targets while we are shutting down coal plants with no plan B for energy generation to keep the lights on in this country. And the cost will inevitably be passed on to us as consumers. Now, of course, what we care about is what it means for our power bills, because ever since Labor came into power, your bills have gone up by up to $1,000. So under the new 2035 target, Labor reckons in 10 years' time, you'll cut your losses. Its modelling says expert analysis by the Australian Energy Market Commission projects residential electricity prices will fall by 13% and average household energy costs will fall by about 20%, or around $1,000 a year over the next decade under a coordinated renewables rollout. And thanks to the Climate Change Authority for that one. So in 10 years' time, when Anthony Albanese is sipping pina coladas at the Copacabana, your power bills may or may not go down by $1,000. But
okay, all right. This is what, okay, you can argue with me on this, debate me on this, but when they crap on about these kind of like, okay, yeah, in a decade's time or whatever, you know, this is what may be reduced by, this may happen, this may happen. The thing is that all of the modeling is pushing us in that direction. It is explicitly saying this is the cheapest form of electricity and this is the rollout we're going to do. And they just argue against it. But what is your alternative? Like, please tell me what your alternative. If you want to continue using coal and gas, okay, then what is your modeling to say that is going to be cheaper in your terms? Like, how is renewables going to be more expensive? Actually do some research and produce something that, you know, that is actually productive, or like that is going to be actually, you know, credible, rather than just this sort of really insanely hyperbolic narrative that is just going to be doing damage. Because the AEMO, CSIRO, the Treasury report, everything has all the research has been done in terms of what is going to be the most costly way forward, and that's going to be delaying the rollout of renewables. And it's been costed that it's going to increase wholesale prices if everyone just keeps arguing against it. So, you know, it's going to hurt investment coming into Australia in renewables. It's going to hurt domestic investment. You know, it's just, I don't understand how like anyone else can think that this is a good way to go. Like, I just don't understand. So you debate me on that. You know, prove me wrong somehow.
Weren't they meant to have gone down already?
Reducing power prices by $275.
Reducing power prices by $275.
By 2025, $275 a year.
$275 a year.
We'll get power prices down by
Okay, all right. It's actually quite funny when people sort of start to think that the effects of COVID and the Ukraine-Russia war have literally no impact on electricity retail prices, right? This is a wholesale component of paying for electricity. You know, when you talk about wholesale prices versus you know, your retail price, you know, they are very different, and I think that needs to sort of be understood. But you got to realize that the pandemic had a huge impact on electricity prices, and so did the Ukraine-Russia war, and all those sort of forecasts. You know, you kind of have to have some little bit of a like leeway in terms of what that sort of did to these sort of statements when they were making them at the time. So yeah, it's probably not bold to be making these kind of claims because you don't know what's going to happen, but I'm pretty sure they learned the lesson from this. But you can't hold, like, when these were made back in, you know, whenever they were made, like 2022 or whatever, you can't still be using that as ammunition for now, I don't think, when the world is very, very different.
$275 a year.
$275 for the average house, lower in 2025 than today.
My word is my bond. My word is my bond. My word is my bond.
Yeah, and we're meant to believe our bills will be $1,000 better off in a decade. Yet Bowen is pushing ahead with steadfast determination.
We have to keep going. We now have 53 months to 2030. That is not long. That will go very fast. And then we have to drive on to 2035 and to 2050 and net zero.
And to end his climate change Armageddon tour, Bowen gave us all a parting message.
Well, my friends, Australia will be there all the way on this journey.
Great. A magic carpet ride journey none of us signed up for, and a journey that's sending us broken backwards every day.
Jesus.
All right,
okay,
Jeremy,
even after all of that, they still don't actually say what they think a better path forward really is. Like, I still don't understand if they're actually for just sticking with coal and gas. I don't know if they're trying to just argue maybe a reduced emissions target. Like, I don't know if they just think that climate change in itself is, you know, real or not. Like, I guess the problem I have with a lot of these debates is, you know, you actually don't know what their position is because they're just continuously picking apart what it is they're arguing against, if that makes sense. So anyways, you tell me what you think. You know, let's keep the talk going with it all. You tell me where you agree and where you disagree. You know, feel free to debate me on any of this. This is what I'm here for. I really want to sort of dive into how everyone thinks about it and, you know, begin to argue against this point, because I just don't think that there's much sense being spoken about in this area. So yeah, let's move on to the next one.